Pasha Paroh, YN7. Thank you for tuning the replay. Alright, so today what we talking about is what capitalize has to do with birthrights. Alright? So like 10 years ago, I reached a point where if I wanted to proceed, I was gonna have to let everything and everybody just go. And I did that. You know what I mean? I was okay with that because I don't have the ability to have emotional attachments. Part of my perfection lacks that installment. Saying my perfection doesn't mean that you're not perfect. Right? So I spent the last 10 years because it was a challenge. It was a challenge not so much in doing it, but wondering why and how society was set up so that you would have to even make such a challenge to begin with. Make such a choice, you know what I'm saying? To proceed beyond or be embraced by a group. What do you yearn for the most? Do you want to be accepted, or do you want to be true to self? You see what I'm saying? So I spent the last 10 years studying human emotion, right? Because emotion, when you get into mental and psychology, is really all connected with because of some feeling they had, right? See, when you take that much time investigating something, you see how it roots disease and disorder. So I started this channel, YN7, right, to introduce people to etymology. Because once, you heard me say this before, once we learn what the words mean, many will have, hold on one second. Just in case there's any comments on the book. Many will have, let me turn this down. Hey, Nkichi. All right. So, put this over here. All right, so I started this channel, right, to show the world etymology originally. If you go back and look at the oldest videos, and everything has been a spin-off of that. We're going to get into the topic in just one moment. So everything is not a spin-off, but an expansion of that, because it's all energy. And what grew out of that was that YN7 was really about energy readings. When we speak, we're broadcasting an energy, and it gets received just like a broadcast and interpreted just like a signal. And then that stirs your emotions or their emotions. And then we watch the mental and or physical manifestations, which could be disorders or disease, if not positive. So once we learn that the words we use every day, you don't know what they really mean, many of you will learn, or many of them will learn, however you want to accept it best, that they have no idea what they're talking about because they don't know what the words mean. And in some cases, they don't know what you're saying, so they have no idea what you're talking about because you're using the words differently than they do. And when you think about it, they're going to say, hey, well, I learned this from so-and-so, which only translates to so-and-so either don't know what they talking about, or it was lost in translation what they really meant sometimes. So I want to get back to that because I see I invested like much contributions into mental health, and you know, many that are and aren't with me today are because they either prefer the treatment or they prefer the benefits of their illness. And at this point, you know, it is what it is. So we can't feed emotions truth unless it supports their belief. And the word belief means not to know. Oxymoronic, I know. For the rest, welcome to the channel. Subscribe, like, share, all those things, you know, it helps the channel, blah, blah, blah. Let's get into it, right? So, for starters, let's look at the word capitalize. Okay, capital is principle of or relating to the head of or relating to the head, principle, right? Relating to the head, chief. Okay? Other senses develop of chief principle. That was 1200. 1430, give or take, the noun became apparent, and that was the capital letter. Later, fund of money, right? Principal, money laid out, okay? Capital. Some of you work places where you hear them talk about capital budgets, capital expenses. So, why is it that people are always looking to capitalize? Certain mindsets of people seem to always want to capitalize. Answer is simple. It's because they were born with no birthrights. Let me break it down for you. Go back over here. All right. So there are two kinds of persons. The natural person and the juridical persons. Okay? Natural person and the juridical persons. A natural person is a human being. Simple. A juridical person is an entity to which the law attributes personality, such as a corporation or a partnership, such as a corporation or a partnership. Now you see why I've been saying in the intro, over the last decade, over the 10 years before that, you gotta know what the words mean, or else you'll never understand your signal. And if you don't know the signal, you don't know what you're broadcasting or what you're receiving. But guess what? You're a transducer. You're going to manifest it whether you know it or not. Why? Because ignorance of the law is no excuse. So just because you don't know that whatever you focus on, you attract, just because you don't know that does not save you from manifesting what you believe. You just don't realize what you are believing because you don't know what is true. No, I'm not an attorney. I'm not any of those degrees. I have no degree. That's part of the beauty of it for me. To be able to accomplish all that I have without any document saying I could do it. Just go do it. Yeah, I was doing Greenbelt projects for the 96th ranked Fortune 500 Forbes, whatever. 96th ranked company with no degree. Why? Because I told them I could do it, and I showed them I could do it. I don't need nobody telling me I could do what I can do. Natural person and jurisdictional person. A natural person is a human being. A jurisdictional person is an entity to which law attributes personality, such as a corporation or a partnership. And you wonder why I'm single. You wonder why I don't do titles. You wonder why Pasha don't do titles. I got girls, women saying that my ex. You can't be an ex because we were never a title. It's weird. The personality of a jurisdictional person is distinct from that of its members. You can't appreciate Pasha's music if you don't know the language he's speaking. It's sound familiar. The words sound familiar. But do you comprehend the message? Back to it. So, now, when we go look into it, right, a natural person is described as a human being naturally born versus, this is the actual definition of natural person. Watch the difference. A human being naturally born versus a legally generated juridical person. A human being naturally born versus a legally generated juridical person. Black's Law Dictionary. A juridical person, I just went and turned in some forms the other day. And they were like, okay, is this your name? And I had to reply. I don't know about you. I don't know about them. You see, this is why if you don't stay in your lane, you may suffer atrophy. Right? If you think you're strong and you work out every day, if you don't go to the gym, if you don't keep working out, you suffer atrophy. So if you are in a certain mindset and you don't continue to sharpen those skills and grow those skills, you will lose them. So I had to respond, that is the juridical person. For your entertainment purposes. So, a juridical person is defined as an entity, as a firm that is not a single natural person as a human being, authorized by law with duties and rights, recognized as a legal authority having a distinct identity, a legal personality. I just want to be around real people. I just want to be around real people. Why is this important for you to know? When a baby is born, a certificate of live birth and the baby's birth certificate are issued. The certificate of live birth is an unofficial document issued by the hospital for data entry purposes. The U.S. Standard Certificate of Live Birth is a form used to register babies born medically alive in the U.S. That shit sounds familiar. Those words sound like you know what they saying, don't it? This is why I don't care what people think about what I say, because half of them don't know what I'm saying. Because they don't understand the words. Or they don't overstand the words. Whatever emotionally floats your boat. Let me go back over that. Why is this important? When a baby is born, both a certificate of live birth and a baby's birth certificate are issued. The certificate of live birth is an unofficial document issued by the hospital for data entry purposes. The U.S. Standard Certificate of Live Birth is a form used to register babies born medically alive in the U.S. Like I said, I started this channel because out of everybody I knew, nobody could go with me where I was going because they thought something was wrong with me. Because they don't know what the words I was saying meant. Or they don't know why I was saying certain things in private. So what is register? What is register? You saw the video. You may have saw the video. I did. Breaking down why your car, what happens, what are they talking about when you register your car? What happens when you register to vote? Go check that video out if you haven't. Go find it. I did it for you. At least you can do it. If I'm telling you it's on this channel, is look for it. What is register? Register is rights, which, let me go back to why I brought this up, this sentence here. The U.S. Standard Certificate of Live Birth is a form used to register babies born, remember that word, medically alive in the U.S. for entertainment purposes. Register is rights which a king has by virtue of his prerogative. Hence, owners of counties palatine were formerly said to have jura regaliae, or regalia. R-E-G-A-L-I-A. I didn't say I was the best pronunciator. Jura regalia in their counties as fully as a king in his palace. The term is sometimes used in the same sense in the Spanish law. Some writers divide the royal prerogative into majora and minora regalia. The former including the regal dignity and power, the latter the revenue or fiscal prerogatives of the crown. What is prerogative? Estate. Behers estate. The word is also used to denote the subject matter insured in a policy. Let me go back to why I'm saying this. When a baby is born, both a certificate of live birth and a baby's birth certificate are issued. The certificate of live birth is an unofficial document issued by the hospital for data entry purposes. The U.S. Standard Certificate of Live Birth is a form used to register babies born medically alive in the U.S. What is registered? Rights which a king has by virtue of his prerogative. My prerogative. So what is prerogative? Estate. The word is also used to denote the subject matter insured in a policy. Equity pleading. The stating part of a bill. It contains a narrative of the facts and circumstances of the plaintiff's case and the wrongs of which he complains, and the names, all the persons by whom done and against whom he seeks redress. Now, to make it all make sense, there's two more components. What is by virtue of? This means by authority of or because of. So rights which a king has, register, rights which a king has by authority of or because of his prerogative, which is what? His estate. Also denoting the subject matter insured in a policy. The stating part of a bill. The circumstances and facts of the plaintiff's case. and the wrongs of which he complains, and the names all the persons by whom done and against whom he seeks redress. Now listen to this again. When a baby is born, both the certificate of live birth and a baby's birth certificate are issued. The certificate of live birth is an unofficial document issued by the hospital for data entry purposes. The U.S. Standard Certificate of Live Birth is a form used to register babies born medically alive in the U.S. The only thing you need to know is, what is birth? And the answer, what is birth, is the act of being born or wholly brought into separate existence. Wallace v. State, 10 Texas, APP 270. What is, it makes sense when you hear the act of being born, but what is or wholly brought into separate existence? But something's wrong with me. So we avoid Pasha. And people like him. That's why they are always wanting to capitalize against us. Because they have no birthrights. Even if they don't consciously know it, their subconscious has them addicted to capitalization, to capitalizing. Let's take a look at something real quick. I want to show you this. Like, this is why, you know, it's like people will be like, oh, you're rude. No, I'm real. Like, we can't even engage in where sometimes you can't even engage with people because they're allergic to where you are. I want to help. I want to build like this. People are still worried about being liked. Or how can they control the next person? That just shows me you're not ready for free if you're still in the mindset of wanting to control. Because you can't believe in freedom and participate in trying to control another. You can't believe that you shouldn't be a title while trying to train people to divide and conquer through title. You have to be this, you have to be us, or you that. Look at all the hypocrites. You can't be hypocritical and stay around a Virgo. We're just too analytical. We don't even mean no harm. It just registers as not making sense. What should be controlled, or do you believe anything goes? See, that's a good question, Nkichi. So, what we do know is, and check out her site, her page. She got some dope gear she producing. Get with her now before she become the next Gucci. You know what I'm saying? All right. So but to answer your question, anything does go. Or see, democracy is mob rule, but they didn't teach you that. So if you believe that you're in a jurisdiction of democracy, you're already living in a society where anything goes. It just has to be anything agreed upon by the majority. So you could throw out the emotional attachment to that shit right there. Let's give it another way. If you believe you're in the jurisdiction, if you know you're in the jurisdiction of a republic, then you know that anything goes as long as you don't harm, as long as you don't injure someone else. See, injure means hurt, but it also means like physically hurt, but it also means wronged. To be wrong. Like if you have been wronged in any way, then you can say it in a different way. You can say, I was injured by that. Because that was, you've been wronged. So injury isn't always like physical, broken bones and shit. You know what I mean? Car crash type shit. However, wrong could have been if someone crashed into you. Now and or maybe you weren't in the car and they hit your car, crashed in the side of your home. You have been wronged because your property is damaged. So injury is the key. As long as you haven't injured anything outside of yourself, right? Another person, as long as you haven't injured someone else, anything does go. I'm not an attorney, and this is for your entertainment purposes only. Do your own research. But when you ask me, Pasha, how you be, back when you used to get them, because they don't, when you had when you driving tickets, right? Who's injured party because you're doing 100 down the road? If you don't hit nobody, if you don't damage anything, if you don't injure, if you don't cause any injury. Do your own research. But good question. So, let me go. Yeah, by the time straight speeding. I mean, but you're not speeding unless you're a driver. Right? You're just traveling at a high rate of speed. The wording. So by the time I left Delaware, they stopped pulling me over. They wouldn't even pull me over because they already knew it wouldn't stick. Hold on. This is what I want to show you, though. All right. So, what is this? This is capitalization rules. Yeah, if you ask me, Nkichi, I'm traveling. I don't know about the rest of them. You know what I'm saying? I be traveling. So, capitalization rules, right? I want to point out a couple of them here, and then we'll bounce back. So, 3.2, right, is, remember what we just went over with the babies. You get registered, right? Now, this is what you got to ask yourself. Capitalization rules. So 3.1 is a little intro. It says it is impossible to give the rules that will cover every conceivable problem in capitalization. But by considering the purpose to be served and the underlying principles, it is possible to attain a considerable degree of uniformity. The list of approved forms given in Chapter 4 will serve as a guide. Obviously, such a list cannot be complete. The correct usage with respect to any term not included can be determined by analogy or by application of the rules. So, 3.2 here says a proper names, right? It's proper names. Proper names are capitalized. And it gives some examples, like Rome has a capital R, the first letter. Brussels has a capital B, the first letter. John Macadam, capital letters in the beginning. However, the Macadam family, only Macadam is capitalized. And if you see them right here for those that are trying to follow along on the screen. Italy, the I is capital. Anglo-Saxon, the A and the S are capital. All right? Proper names. Remember that. Proper names. So now, the names of organized bodies are capitalized also. 317. Okay? Scroll down a little bit here. Here we go. The full names of existing or proposed organized bodies and their shortened names are capitalized. Other substitutes, which are most often regarded as common nouns, are capitalized only in certain specific instances to indicate preeminence or distinction. National governmental units, and it gives all these examples. Okay? What's important to take away is organized bodies, the names of, are capitalized just like a proper noun. Oh, did I say noun? Proper name. So if a proper name or noun, right, for entertainment purposes, only has capitalized the first letter, why are you entertaining what looks like your name in all capital letters? Let's look at trademarks and trade names 325. Trade names and trademarks. Trade names, variety names, and the names of market grades and brands are capitalized. Some trade names have come into usage as generic terms. Cellophane, thermos, aspirin. When reference is being made to the formal company or specific product name, capitalization should be used. And here we are again, capitalizing in the form of a proper name or proper noun. Choice lamb. Lamb's not capitalized. Choice is because it is the brand of lamb. Red Radiance Rose. Xerox, the company, is capitalized. Titles of persons. 334. Civil, religious, military, and professional titles, as well as those of nobility immediately preceding a name, are capitalized. President Bush or Obama or Trump or who's the guy now? Queen Elizabeth. Ambassador Acton, right? Dr. So-and-so, vice presidential candidate, such and such. It gives these examples. So if all of these only capitalize the first name, the first letter, based off capitalization rules, why are you entertaining a version of your name that comes in all capital form? The question is, are you talking about claiming your straw man? Or are you talking about being property of the United States? And she says Biden. Thanks, Nkichi. I'm entertaining. And if you feel like I'm talking about claiming a straw man, I thank you for being entertained. If you think I'm talking about being property of the United States, again, I appreciate you being entertained. I would advise, if you feel like that's what I'm talking about, then look into it. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, then look into it if you would like to know more. Now let's go back to, now that we got that on the table, let's go back to this real quick. I just want to read this for you one more time. When a baby is born, both a certificate of live birth and a baby's birth certificate are issued. The certificate of live birth is an unofficial document issued by the hospital for data entry purposes. The U.S. standard certificate of live birth is a form used to register babies born medically alive in the U.S. Maybe you weren't in the U.S. to begin with. So, I hear you. That's really what's left open for. But let's look at this, right? There's this saying, because if you go to, okay, so you're saying about being property of the United States or about the straw man, right? If a judge were to ask you your name and they give you some documentation, now we just went over the capital first letter of a proper name or proper noun is capitalized. So a proper noun, or a name, is a proper noun. The name of a person is a proper noun. A place, the name of a place is a proper noun. The name of a thing is a proper noun. We just went over that. So proper name or proper noun has the first letter capitalized. Now, if you get something and your whole name is capitalized, or what you think is your name, and it's all capitalized, Nkichi, I think what you're really asking me, despite your saying, am I talking about the straw man? I mean, I know this is the question you asked. Am I talking about the straw man, or am I talking about being property of the United States, right? I think what you're really asking me might be, to put it on topic, the answer might be that the all capitalized name is not a proper noun. So that means that it's not a proper name. So that might mean that it's not you. And the reason why I have to say might, I know you're like, well, is it or isn't it, right? It either is or isn't it, either is or isn't. Right? The reason I have to say might is because I could tell, like we just went over why. Right? We just went over why. We just went over how. And for those that are just jumping on, feel free to watch this in its entirety at your leisure in the future. Right? But we just went over why. We just went over how. The proper name can't be all caps. But if a person says that to somebody, let's say the judge asked them for their name, and they say it's not them, here's what's going to happen. If they don't know why it's not them, if they can't state their claim to why it's not them, now something's wrong with them. They're in dishonor. So just to know, if you can't explain why or how, it don't matter what you say, because you don't know what you're saying. We'll go back to where we started at. But really good questions, Nkichi. Really good questions. I appreciate those. So there's this saying, right? It's called, and I'm going to probably pronounce this terribly. Matter of fact, here, let me get it on the screen for you. Fatuus praesumitur qui in proprio nomine errat. I know, right? So he is presumed fatuus who makes a mistake in his own name. And basically, you could take out the word fatuus, F-A-T-U-O-U-S, and put incompetent. I didn't make the game. So it basically is saying he is presumed incompetent who makes a mistake in his own name. This is why I had to spend 10 years studying human emotions and psychology and experiential, psychological, and all this shit, right? Because I had to understand, was it really something wrong with me? Or not? He is presumed incompetent who makes a mistake in his own name. So, why is this important, right? Why is this important? I mean, I gave you a bunch of why it's important, but why is this important? the simplest, if we go look at chapter 7, because everything is hidden in plain sight. And the part I want to help make it all make sense to you now is, again, I'm just telling the story for your entertainment purposes. But if we go look at chapter 7 of the bankruptcy code, in the liquidation, it states this, right? Because, and why you pick bankruptcy, Pasha? Because the bankruptcy code is not like created from nothing. So the verbiage used there is supported by the foundation of the greater whole of, you might want to call it law. So if we go look at chapter 7 of the bankruptcy code, in liquidation it says, the debtor's property owned at filing of the bankruptcy becomes part of the bankruptcy estate, except for exempt property which is released to the debtor. In chapter 7, liquidations, the United States trustee immediately appoints an interim trustee from a standing panel of trustees in the district. This interim trustee can be replaced if the creditors subsequently elect a permanent trustee. If no permanent trustee is elected, the interim trustee continues to serve as the trustee. The trustee disposes of the estate's property. If property is collateral for a debt that is more than the value of the property, that collateral might be released to a secured creditor. The proceeds from the trustee's sales are applied to pay the debts of the debtor after paying expenses of the bankruptcy proceeding. An individual debtor normally will be discharged of liability for all debts incurred before the petition was filed. A corporation, partnership, or other insolvent organization is simply dissolved. So go back to register. Rights which a king has by virtue of his prerogative. Go back and play it again if you need to know what the by virtue of, authority of, or because of. What is birth? The act of being born or wholly brought into separate existence. What is prerogative? The estate. The word is used to denote the subject matter ensured in a policy. Equity pleading. The stating part of a bill. It contains a narrative of facts and circumstances of the plaintiff's case and the wrongs of which he complains. The old names of the persons by whom done and against whom he seeks redress. When a baby is born, both a certificate of live birth and a baby's birth certificate are issued. The certificate of live birth is an unofficial document issued by the hospital for data entry purposes. The standard certificate, the U.S. Standard Certificate of Live Birth is a form used to register babies born medically alive in the U.S. There are two kinds of persons: natural persons and juridical persons. A natural person is a human being naturally born versus a legally generated juridical person. Juridical person, an entity as affirmed that is not a single natural person, as a human being authorized by law with duties and rights, recognized as a legal authority, having a distinct identity, a legal personality. So they are addicted to subconsciously to capitalizing. So their actions lead them to want to capitalize of you. Like any addiction, they desire more. So being an improper noun makes you desire more improper. So anytime you remain improper persona, they're going to hate you for it. They're going to hate it, and they're going to hate you. They're going to hate the fact that proper exists, and they're going to hate you for being proper. The weak will always band together because they desire to feel whole. They want to feel complete. Tell someone you don't have to go to college. Tell someone you don't have to get married. Tell someone you don't need that title. That's my girl. That's my woman. That's my wife. Tell someone you don't have to settle for a career. Oh, you should want to be a technician. You should want to be a doctor. You should want to be a lawyer. Tell someone you don't need to own stuff to be happy. Tell someone they don't actually own what they think they own to begin with, and they still happy because they don't know any better. Ignorance is bliss. Tell someone you don't have to fit a stereotype. Tell someone you don't have to obey. Tell someone you are your authority. See, they want you to be capitalized too. You gotta go by the rules of beliefs. You need to go by the rules of attitudes. You need to go by the rules of behavior. We want to see you capitalized too. That you need to be considered acceptable. You need to fit in to this particular social group or culture. Stop begging. I challenge you. I challenge you to stop begging to fit in to a college. Stop begging to fit in to a marriage. Stop begging to fit in to the lives of ungrateful kids. Stop begging to settle. Stop begging for a career. Stop begging for stuff to be happy. Stop begging to fit into a stereotype. And stop begging to give up your authority. Norms provide us with an expected predictability, an idea of how to behave and function. They provide you a purpose. I just did the video on purpose with King CEO. Go check it out. It was only natural that this transitions. See, let me say that again. Norms provide us with an expected predictability, an idea of how to behave. You're supposed to be at work at 9 o'clock. An idea of how to behave at function. Norms provide us with an expected predictability, an idea. If you're in a relationship with me, I don't want you out all night. Norms provide us with an expected predictability, an idea of how to behave and function. They provide you a purpose. They assign you a destination. They rob you of you. There's over 7 billion people, they tell us, on this planet. What do you mean there's only 7 genres of music? Only 7 genres of music. There's 7 billion people on this planet. That's why when they ask me, Pasha, what kind of music you make, what genre you in, I tell them I'm creating my own thing. Don't expect me in a box. You're going to be disappointed every time. I promise you. That's why people are repelled by you. That's why they have to go and make up reasons to charge back your work and go against their contractual agreements with you. They can't fulfill their end of truth because they are always looking for the capitalization, and when there's not one, there's disappointed. So they have to find something to capitalize on. That's why they out there lying to people about you right now. And then the people listening never came and checked with you if it was true or not. They all looking for capitalization. They all want to capitalize on something. See, there's 7 social roles. Leader, the knowledge generator, the connector, the follower, the moralist, the enforcer, and the observer. What are any of these roles without any of the other roles? How do they not all exist without each other? See, the capitalized wants to be the capital. They want to be what? The principal. Right? Let's go back to it. See, the capital wants to be principal of or relating to the head, the chief, in a fantasy. In a fantasy. This is why they want to act like something's wrong with you, because, oh, you're not acting like a leader. You don't know nothing. I got a network. Follow me. This is why the song registers to people. Moralist, enforcer, observer. See, they want to be the head observer. They want to be the head enforcer. They want to get to know the leader. Oh, I know, me and the sheriff. Yeah. Oh, me and pastor. Yeah. The followers. The connectors. Oh, my network. In order to do business with anybody in my network, you must pay $139.50 a month. Because we're going to make you a lot of money. My network. I'm Donald Trump. The college. We are the premier, and because of that, institute, and your tuition, because we're Ivy League is $80,000 a year. We're gonna capitalize off of your ignorance. If you believe you are incompetent. You'll find people don't like when you are all 7. When you admit to yourself that you are 7G, they won't like you because they can't capitalize off of you. Because they can't register you. When you are all 7, you are truly king. Tell someone you don't need a driver's license to operate an auto. Tell them you see things differently and see how that go. Tell someone you're letting them go and see how that fly. You left behind your family and you say your family didn't want to be with you anyway. And they didn't want to go where you're going. What were you supposed to do? Listen to society? Oh, right, because society gives you your purpose. Tell someone you are unregistered. Tell someone you are free and mean it. And you'll begin to feel like I do. You'll feel like Pasha Paroh. So get used to it. It's YNet 7. Pasha Paroh. Thank you for tuning.
I just sick pay on a 6-3 formatted park assist. Text message back, order join my mailing list. Fever in the brain, Percocets. Patients in the lobby on my waiting list. Quarantine, pharmacist. Foreign genes, stuff I know, numerologist. Big screen, big heart cardiologist. Next session back office, gave a Parkinson. Champagne meal, tickets and croutons. Have them running back, honest like no parking signs. I just took hard work on a date 100 times. Gave up every weekend with next week in mind. Now I'm counting back pay. Gon' tell them all up, spin that back pay. Don't they owe it all till you're calling back dates? Time to slip and fall on your bad day. Blowing every cut, I'm a band-aid. And I promised mama lied when she said you ain't worth a damn thing. Middle of the night, left home without a damn thing. You gon' be next, feeling like the world owe you everything. So you should get used to it. Taught them everything but a student loan. 8 bedrooms for my studio. I just bought a car on my mobile phone. Gave your first one for the ratio. So you could get used to it. So you could get used to it. I ain't mean for you to fall in love. First call when you lost your job. Feeling bankrupt, now you Donald Trump. I just wanted you to get used to it. So you could get used to it. You feel like money now. You feel like money now. Don't you wanna count it up? Count it up. Back pay. You feel like money now. So you could get used to it. Back pay. You feel like money now. You feel like money now. Don't you wanna count it up? Count it up. Back pay. Gon' tell them all up, spin that back pay. Don't they owe it all till you call it back dates? Time to slip and fall on your bad day. Blowing every cut, I'm a band-aid. And I promised mama lied when she said you ain't worth a damn thing. Middle of the night, left home without a damn thing. You gon' be next, feeling like the world owe you everything. So you should get used to it. Taught them everything but a student loan. 8 bedrooms for my studio. I just bought a car on my mobile phone. Gave your first one for the ratio, so you could get used to it. So you could get used to it.
Yeah, thank you for tuning. I appreciate it. Pasha Paroh, YNet7. Subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. Peace.